Let's talk about how to set up a mature multi-team continuous exploration process from a program manager's perspective. A continuous exploration process is how you explore the universe of ideas and determine what to build. Sometimes it's called opportunity selection. The most important thing an exploration process does is identify which features or changes to your product will add the most value. The product folks are primarily responsible for selecting the feature ideas to explore. But as a program manager, the way I can help is to create an effective and organized exploration process. The first thing a mature exploration process needs when working across multiple teams and lots of people is clarity. Who is figuring out what the feature is going to do? What is the feature? What is the priority of the feature? And where is the feature in terms of its development? Are we estimating? Are we still deciding what to do? Next, the continuous exploration process should actually be continuous. I'm not a huge fan of a process that works in stressful spurts at the end of a quarter. You want your process to be able to respond to change at any time. And finally, you want the process to be as swift as possible. You want to get just as much alignment as you need to make a good decision, not so much you fall down a waterfall development process. The continuous exploration process results in the product backlog. We break it up into two sub-processes. The first is the discover workflow, which generates feature ideas, and the second is the evaluation workflow that further defines and ultimately prioritizes the feature. The discovery workflow is about collecting data from the customers and competitors, trying to synthesize the data into something folks can understand, and then brainstorming on what ideas the organization might pursue. This process is usually run by your product folks. The evaluation workflow is what takes those ideas and adds more detail so the initiative can be estimated, validated, and ultimately prioritized or rejected. For multi-team planning, when we're using Jira, we create new ideas as initiatives. Initiatives can have multiple epics across multiple teams. You'll notice initiatives usually roll up to a target outcome too. To manage the process in Jira, we use an initiative exploration board that reflects our exploration workflow. So let's see how we can use that board and how it adds clarity to the exploration process. It starts with the ideas backlog. These are all the ideas that everyone in the organization wants to explore, but haven't yet. This list can get quite long. But we have a new idea to add promotions to our e-commerce site, so let's add it. Most organizations have some standard on what they'd like ideas to be submitted with. We'll add a brief description, problem, and impact statement. Now that we've added our own idea to this list of ideas has grown even longer. It's important to prioritize it. Let's say we decided promotions is at the top of the list. I can prioritize it by dragging it to the top. Now, when someone has capacity to evaluate this idea, in this case myself, I can move it to refinement and assign myself, letting everyone know I'm on it. By moving an initiative from the idea backlog to refinement, the initiative now shows up in the Kanban view. Here, we can see where every initiative is in the exploration and delivery process. As initiatives move through the evaluation workflow, it's beneficial to establish guidelines for what's needed for each state. For example, as an initiative moves to refined, we want high-level clarity on what the feature is before we can prioritize it. For example, promotions could have meant a lot of different things. Is it a TV spot? Are they for new users? Some common elements included in refinement are the people who should be involved in the initiative, the high-level use cases that detail the customer journey. What's out of scope? This might be the most important section. You want to reduce scope as much as possible so you can release as quickly as possible. Next, considerations for any downstream work like estimation, validation, deployment. And finally, questions. These might be FAQs or lingering questions you're still trying to get answered. The other item I'm a huge proponent of is early wireframing. Wireframes are arguably the most important tool you can use to get early consensus around a feature. You should look to wireframe the complete user journey, uglier the better. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so it's unfortunate that a lot of product delivery folks are uncomfortable with wireframing. I see product folks write a PRD 40 pages long that no one reads when a wireframe would communicate the same much more succinctly. Once the initiative is refined, you know what the feature is, so it's time to gauge if you think it will actually be valuable. We move the initiative to validating. Here, you can use a variety of techniques to validate if the initiative will produce value. You might look at your analytics, do user testing, or survey your customers. Once this work is done, we'll update the initiative with whatever we found and update the initiative with the value that we think the initiative will create. For example, for promotions, let's say our customers have been asking for it. We know this. We know our customer lifetime value. So these things combined, maybe we're 80% confident that we can hit our revenue goals. While the initiative is being validated, it can also be estimated. This is where the work is broken down into epics. Epics belong to a single team. I use a shorthand notation to break down initiatives in epics. You can find more information about it in the description below. Once we have broken down the epics, we can get an estimate for each epic from its team. We get estimates with confidences. We use those confidences to build a probabilistic plan. We'll explore this in the next section. To conclude continuous exploration, we recommend adopting a similar exploration process with tooling to provide clarity on where things are and who is working on them, and guidelines around what should be performed at each step of the process. Finally, we recommend keeping the process as light as possible. It shouldn't take much more than a few days of work to refine and estimate an initiative. Validation can be a bit longer or more complex, depending on the uncertainty and expected costs of the initiative, but overall, err on the side of less process and more flexibility on when, how, and by whom work gets done. So what are your thoughts on continuous exploration? Are you a safe shop? What tools are you using to keep the process organized and efficient? What does and doesn't work for you? Also, did you know that I could work with you and your team to set up an effective continuous exploration process? If you need help with this or any other digital product needs, Bitovi can probably help. Thanks for watching. Keep innovating.